Sports science is back, bitches. The Philadelphia Phillies. They go out and they get themselves an easy for me to say, an analytic. I still can't say it. Analytics. I got an analytics-based manager who looks like he could work for Chippendales. Tony Del Grosso is here. Kyle Gross. I can't fucking say anything today. Kyle Gaffner is here. Tony Del Grosso as well. I am Adrian Bedque. Hopefully no more stumbles for the rest of the show. Gosh.
A little tongue twister. You got a little tongue twisted. But, yeah, man, we got a new manager in the freaking Phillies organization. Really young guy. A complete change from years past. We had a couple old dinosaurs in there. So we get some fresh faces and a new outlook on this team.
I fucking love this hire. And it has nothing to do with what he looks like. I guess that's a bonus if you're into that. But this dude is pretty much exactly what I was looking for. A younger, analytic-minded guy who is going to work in conjunction with Clentak and not be clashing with Clentak all the time, like I kind of think McCannon and him did a little bit. And another thing, we know Freddie Galvis isn't going to be batting in the two-hole anymore, which is another huge deal for me. I just can't. I'll never, ever get over that until the day I die. And no junk food in the clubhouse. And, I mean, if anybody misbehaves, he'll clunk their heads together like fucking Larry and Moe. So I'm excited.
Dude, I love this hire. I really do. And, I called the show Chip Kapler because it's funny how the Phillies kind of bring in this kind of revolutionary thinker. And I know that he has a blog as well, Gabe Kapler, which his words are beautiful. And I just want to share you guys this little nugget here because I love this quote and it's fantastic. So here we go. Caring too much about what others think of you stifles your ability to take risks. That football coach has to decide between being popular and winning more games. If you want to be average, continue doing what everyone else does. Being better than the pack requires doing something different.
I like it.
Oh, I love that, dude. I came like so hard. I might have came harder reading that quote than when I saw the Twitter come up saying that Jay Ajayi came to the Phillies.
It kind of sounds like something Sam Hinkie would say, right?
I still can't get my words out. I'm screwing up everything in the show. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
No, that kind of sounds like a Hinkie quote almost, right? I mean, I think it's crazy to think that right now, Philadelphia, at least 3 out of the 4 are probably the most progressive or one of the most progressive analytic outside the box thinking organizations in all of sports. Sixers certainly are. Phillies are now. Kind of have been under Roseman at least.
Yeah, and it's a complete 180. Because when Charlie Manuel was in here, it was a complete old school philosophy. ERA, RBI, I mean, those were relevant. Gabe Kapler hates both of those statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a different outlook on it too. And like you said, Tony, 3 out of the 4, when Chip Kelly was here, it was like a new form of thinking, a new style that we never saw before, and it worked well. I mean, nobody knows how to game plan around that because it's revolutionary. Like Adrian said, it's something new. And I'm kind of interested to see what he can really do with these young kids and mold their minds because he's not that much older than these guys. He's about 15 years older. And he played the game too. I think that's going to play a huge part in helping these guys develop.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the bullpen used differently. It's going to be a complete – I mean, like you said, it's not going to be old school anymore. You're going to see different lineups. You're going to see – I think you might see a guy like Rhys Hoskins in the 2-hole, which I don't think Pete McCannon ever even considered. But you look around the league nowadays, a lot of the most successful teams do have their best hitter in a 2-hole. So, like, little things like that, subtle things like that really would make a difference in 162 games. And I feel like the Phillies, they took a baby step with Clentak, but now they're full-blown 100%, like, into what baseball is in 2017, which is, don't worry about fucking batting average. Don't worry about pitchers' wins and losses. Fucking elevate and celebrate, hit the ball out of the ballpark, and win games.
Elevate.
Look at the 2 teams in the World Series right now, and that's how you win.
Elevate and celebrate. I like that.
That's my favorite saying.
I like that.
I mean, it's well for multiple reasons, but baseball mostly elevate and celebrate.
Well played, sir. Well played. I also wanted to take this time and call Kyle Scott the fuck out. So not only do you use my videos sometimes and not credit me, the other thing you do is you make false reports. And I knew when I saw that the Phillies were close to hiring Dusty Wathan, or actually the report was literally, I think it said to hire Dusty Wathan. You got it wrong again, Kyle. You got it wrong again.
Swing and a miss this guy did. And
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like Dusty Wathan seemed to make the most sense.
Right.
So he took what he thought and he went with it. And he went and said he used this little, oh, I heard from a little birdie that this and this said this. Bullshit, Kyle. I called you out again.
Got him. Got him.
Got him.
Got him.
Yeah, and he has lots of little birdies telling him lies all the time, it seems.
Yeah.
It's little birdies. That's a Game of Thrones thing. It definitely is a Game of Thrones thing. But I thought Dusty Wathan. What's that?
This little birdie.
Yeah, you know Varys from Game of Thrones. That's who he is. But I thought Dusty Wathan was going to be the hire too, and I didn't know how I really felt about that because it did make the most sense. He's coached these guys all the way from Reading, and then he got promoted to AAA, and he knows the ins and outs of all these guys. He's worked with them for a couple years. But that kind of scares me, having a guy that's never coached in the big leagues before, kind of trying to be a manager in the big leagues. I just feel like it's a huge step. So I feel like he would have to be a first base coach or whatever before he would become a managerial candidate. But if you look at the guys they were talking about, we had Brad Ausmus, John Farrell. I'm surprised Joe Girardi's name wasn't thrown in there after he got canned from the Yankees. But
I'm glad we have Gabe Kapler instead of Joe Girardi.
Yeah. And that's good. And his name, I didn't see his name. Now, did you guys see his name within the candidates?
I did not.
No, I don't. I get the feeling Girardi is going to kick back for a year or two and wait for the perfect job for him.
You think he goes to another big market? I could see him being a big market guy, going and maybe like the Mets or whoever, staying in New York.
Yeah. Was this the right hire? Would you have rather had Kapler over the other candidates?
Personally, yeah. Once like I said, he was kind of always like the name on the back burner, dark horse candidate. Once I actually looked into him a little bit, I was like, fuck yeah, this guy seems like a perfect fit.
That's how I was, yeah.
So I was originally a Dave Martinez guy, but I don't think the Phillies ever even interviewed him for some reason. I'm not sure.
We didn't have a shot at him. I don't think we had a chance. He was going to go to contender, and what happened with the Nationals. I don't think we had a shot. That's why we never interviewed him.
And the same with Alex Cora, too. I kind of wanted him, but he went right to a contender as well. He went right to the Red Sox. So you looked at the guys like the Brad Ausmuses, and I'm trying to think who else there was. And John Farrell, after he got canned, I don't know. I feel like that was a lateral move, too, because it was kind of the same as having Pete Mackanin in there.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got some fresh blood in there and new analytics got to kind of look back and see what we can change, because it hasn't worked for us this far. After Charlie, we really haven't had any success, so it was time to start something new, kind of like Sam Hinkie did with the Sixers.
Right. I think the bottom line was Klentak, and you look at this like across Major League Baseball, successful teams. There was it used to be a thought process where the manager and the GM didn't necessarily need to see eye to eye. Well, that's really not the case anymore. And you look at the best teams, the GM, the president, and manager all see eye to eye, all look at players the same way. That doesn't mean they don't disagree, but it means that when Kapler makes a head-scratching move on the field this season, Klentak is going to understand why. We might not, but we're going to know why. And that's, to me, like the biggest difference between what we're going to see in 2018 and what we've seen for the past how many years.
And do you think Klentak threw his name out there to Montgomery and the boys upstairs to really go after Kapler after looking at those candidates because they kind of think alike. So do you think he really slipped his name in there last minute to, hey, look at this guy? I really think he could change the organization.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, for guys like Montgomery and even Middleton, who see, I don't know, Middleton, he's old school, but yet he wants to win at all costs. So I feel like, yeah, they might have hesitated at first because it was different. Nobody really, at least older guys don't necessarily like change. But
right,
I bet after a couple of minutes of explaining his resume and his beliefs and whatnot, they probably jumped on board pretty quick. And also, they probably realized that it was now or never because the guy was obviously going to be a GM sooner rather than later. So,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Another great blog quote from Gabe Kapler. If you want to be your strongest, get some sun on your boys. And by boys, I mean your testicles.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Vitamin D on your balls. It increases testosterone.
Yeah.
That guy's all about that testosterone.
Yeah. Adrian's talking about an article he wrote in 2015, which basically says that you should get your testicles sunlight because it'll increase testosterone and make you stronger. Which, when you first hear that, you're like, what the fuck? But then you think about it for a second, it makes complete sense. And he says, have you ever seen a weak gorilla? No, you never have. So I don't know.
All natural.
All natural.
I mean, any little thing that could give you the tiniest bit of advantage, I'm all for.
Especially when you don't have to pump the
juice. When the Phillies do their pregame exercises and stretches, they will be nude.
They'll be nude sunning.
Yeah. That's the new thing at CBP, the all-natural batting practice.
Oh, God.
Taking batting practice with your cock.
Now that would be something interesting. That would make headlines.
All right. I'm going to see if we have any questions from – I don't know if anybody is watching our Philly stuff. I bet you Sean Fitzpatrick is.
Yeah, he's a big baseball guy.
Yeah, he likes our baseball and hockey stuff. Of course, he asked an Ajayi question in here. Serious Phil's question. Franco traded. Crawford plays third for a year until acquiring Machado?
I don't
know.
Go ahead, Tony.
No. I say no because Franco has no value right now. Why would you trade? Like, players are like stocks. You got to trade them like
when they're high.
Yeah, you could trade Franco, but you'd fucking get shit back for him. Give him at least a couple months next year, the everyday third baseman. Just put JP at short. That's where he's going to be. Fuck Freddie Galvis. Sorry, trade him or he's on the bench. Like, I don't understand so many people still wanting Freddie Galvis to fucking start next year.
It's because we've had so much mediocrity since Jimmy Rollins has left. He had bright spots. He's a good, decent fielder, but he can't hit worth a lick. And I guess they just saw that what little bright spot there was on this team. And that's probably what it is. But I agree with you. You can't trade Franco when there's no value. It's the same thing with Julio Okafor. If they're not out there playing and improve. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you can't get rid of somebody if they're not out there playing and putting up numbers. So give them a chance to do something and produce and then sell them, buy low, sell high. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Franco just needs some sunlight on his balls, let's be honest.
That's what it's all about. Those UV rays.
That might be the ticket for him to stop chasing the ball out of the zone. Sun them balls. Juice them.
Literally, balls out of the zone. Velasquez, reliever or one more chance to start?
I got to give him one more chance to start. He hasn't been healthy since he's been here. I still think you got to give him a chance. All else fails, he could become a reliever, become a long man if not. But I would give him one more chance to start because the kid has electric stuff. He just needs help honing it. He's got to be healthy. He hasn't been healthy since we acquired him from the Astros.
I totally agree with that. I would definitely keep him as a starter. But with that said, I feel like Kapler is one more step in a direction of we don't really view pitchers as starters or relievers. We just view them as pitchers, and whoever happens to start the game is called the beginner, and then we finish. You know what I mean? I think
Positionless.
So
yeah,
you think he's going to take
positionless pitchers. That's a good way to put it.
okay,
Yeah.
so you think he's going
Just
to
go
take
off
the step
matchups.
and take the next step in that sort of because we're seeing here in the postseason, obviously Terry Francona kind of started the trend last year in the World Series. So you think Kapler is going to take this to an extent where maybe a pitcher goes through the lineup once and then they're taken out of the game?
I would not be surprised at all.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, that will be.
Like I said, eventually, and I don't know how long it's going to take the league, but I think eventually you'll just see staffs in general, and again, you're literally just have the guy to begin the game. Like you said, you might go through a lineup, but you'll have most pitchers going 3 innings maybe max, and just go matchup to matchup, inning to inning, kind of.
I don't know if they will do that though. Wouldn't that slow down the game? They're trying to get away from that.
It throws another wrench into the whole speeding up the game process. Absolutely, no doubt. But do you really think the managers that are trying to win games are going to give a shit?
No, they'll probably do it until the league comes down with a rule and puts a kibosh on it. But
Yeah,
right, I get where you're coming from.
but and it also doesn't mean that guys aren't still going to pitch 200 innings. You might like say if the Phillies had a pitcher like Kershaw, for example, just hypothetically, yeah,
Oh,
he might only pitch 3 innings a game, but he might be pitching every 2 or 3 days
right,
instead
as
of every
opposed to
fifth
a
day.
week.
So guys are still going to get their 200, 220 innings and whatnot, and you'll still have guys pitching more and less innings than others, but it's just going to be based off of who's getting people out.
What is it that the Rays did a couple years ago? You remember? It was what was it like 4 innings, 5 innings? It was like a 5 inning limit. Now I think they did that because their staff was kind of they didn't have a good staff.
Yeah.
So they didn't use them as much.
Well,
And they
they
tried
they made a big deal out of something that almost kind of happens to every team through a long season, which is where shit, we don't really have anybody to start today. We're just gonna kind of have to piece this together.
mm-hmm.
But they sort of took that to a next step and did it when they did it when they didn't have to, and their backs were against the wall,
Yeah.
and it worked. And I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, you saw what Francona did with the Indians in the World Series. That's it's the way to win. I mean,
I think another way to look at it too is you look at Dave Roberts and how he's been utilizing his bullpen throughout the entire postseason. Obviously, where was Kapler before this? He was in L.A. He was with the Dodgers. He was the runner-up to Dave Roberts in their managerial search.
And look what they did with that young team. If he was ahead of player development and if he's ahead of scouting and drafting these guys and really bringing them along, they've had a bunch of young kids really jump from basically single A all the way up to the big leagues. I mean, you think about Seager, you think about Eulis, Bellinger, Barnes. I mean, God, they've got so many young pups on that team that are playing in the World Series right now, and they're killing it. They're not just struggling; they're being very successful throughout the playoffs.
And not just the guys that they've drafted. Think about like a Justin Turner, who they acquired. When he was in New York, Justin Turner was a fucking utility player.
Yeah.
Now Justin Turner is one of the top 10 or 12 hitters in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at his numbers and his approach. I mean, he's one of the few guys in Major League Baseball who actually walked more than he struck out and still hit for a ton of power. Like, that's almost unheard of. And I'm not saying Gabe Kapler is the sole reason behind that, but I do believe he had a small part in that.
Yeah, no, you're right. He was trash when he was at New York. He was an afterthought almost. And then you look at the numbers he's put up. I mean, he's solely carried that Dodger offense in the World Series so far. I mean, he's been outstanding with runners in scoring position. And you look at him, he's a really, really patient hitter too. And he wasn't like that when he was in New York. He struck out a lot. So I'm hoping he could bring whatever he has done over there in LA and infused it with a guy like Rhys Hoskins. I mean, sky is the limit if that's the case. I mean, it makes you giddy.
I mean, the guy, he uses new ideas and he uses we always use the word analytics, but if you really think about it, analytics could be changed to facts. That's what analytics are. So, all these Howard Eskins and all these guys out here so mad that the game is turning to robots. No, it's just guys are relying on facts now instead of this gut instinct,
right?
which usually gets you in trouble.
It's like science versus religion, like that whole thing. You got proof versus theology. I feel like that's a fair comparison there.
Yeah.
I like that point. I like that.
Very good point.
That's like putting UV rays on your balls.
Gotta let that radiation in,
Yeah.
Let that radiation soak it up. Juice those balls.
How soon until Kingery arrives? Is he a Dustin Pedroia clone?
Middle of May. I almost guarantee it'll be middle of May because of the when he was drafted. If they wait until
arbitration?
I forget what the exact date is, but they get another year on him. I remember reading something about that. If they put him on opening roster, opening day,
he loses a year, right?
Yeah.
All these questions are from one viewer, by the way.
Oh, thanks for the questions. I mean, that definitely helps. But so you'll have Cesar. It's not like we have a vacant spot there. Cesar's a very good, decent second baseman who can really hold his own. But this is when you're going to see all these young players start to come up now. So all these guys that have kind of just been waiting there and filling the gap, where you're going to start to see them move on now. And I feel like the new regime is going to want to have their guys in there and get rid of Hernandez and the Galvises, maybe try to trade them or what have you, and build their own team and see what we can do.
I think maybe the most important thing in the next couple weeks for the Phillies is who Kapler hires as his pitching coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because, bench coach and whatnot, really not that important. But most teams let their pitching coach kind of completely run the pitching staff, kind of like football does with offensive, defensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how much, how much fingerprints Kapler is going to have on the pitching staff. So, yeah, it's super, super important to see who he names.
We need a good one, and I'm hoping they can find a job for Larry Bow. I'd like for him to stick with the organization. I know they've kind of cleaned house with that whole regime of McCann and all of them, but I know he said he wants to retain in Philly, so I hope we can find a spot for Larry.
I think they offered him an advisor role.
I hope he takes it.
Yeah.
Well, somebody who won't be back is Matt Stairs. He's off to San Diego.
Yeah. So I've heard reports that maybe Raul Ibanez is maybe the next hitting coach. I don't hate that idea. He coached with Kansas City for a while. I don't know if he was the hitting coach there or not. I'm not sure what he did. I thought it was maybe a specialty job, but I wouldn't mind having Raul in here. I mean, Matt Stairs did a couple good things, but we haven't really had too much success with our hitting coaches. And how much can you really blame them? They can only do so much. But I would love to have Raul. I loved him when he was here. And can he do any worse than Matt Stairs did? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Raul is definitely one of the top candidates for that job. I also think he's going to get a manager job in the next few years too.
Mm-hmm.
Schmidt says
I don't know. I think I think hitting coach is overrated. So many guys just use their own personal instructors anymore, so it's almost irrelevant. But
right, and they fall on the sword when the hitting doesn't go right for the team. They're the ones that get the complete blame on it, and they got to fall on the sword, and then they get chopped.
Yeah.
Schmidt says no to Ibanez, no Hispanics.
What?
That's what. It's always joking around.
Mike Schmidt. Oh, that Mike Schmidt.
Does Cousins make the opening day roster as the power bat off the bench?
Nah, definitely not. I don't think he's ready yet. I think he comes in later towards maybe when they have September call-ups. I don't think he's shown enough to really make it even as a bench player yet. I think it will dictate what he does in spring training if he does make the bench. But we're pretty crowded there. You figure you're going to have Knapp. He's going to probably be the bench player behind Alfaro. What else you got? I mean, you got so many young guys. Crawford, is he going to start? You only got 4 spots for bats, and then you're going to keep Galvis there, I'm sure. So that's going to have to depend what everybody does in spring training.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few moves made. I wouldn't be shocked. No, I don't think Cousins is going to make the opening day roster, unless you're talking about DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know. I feel like part of me thinks they're actually going to sign a catcher this offseason. Not like a good one. There's not really any available. But like Jonathan Lucroy is available. Jonathan Lucroy a few years ago was really fucking good. He hasn't been very good since. But he's a guy who at least could take some of the pressure off Alfaro. If the Phillies think they could possibly be a playoff team this upcoming year, which I think they can be, do you really want to go with Alfaro and Knapp as your two backstops?
Probably not.
I don't know. But again, go back to Cousins. He's another guy who, he has.
Oh, you froze, Tony.
Unfortunately, Tony has frozen. He is frozen in time. I don't know what happened. But, yeah, hopefully he comes back in about a second. Oh, he's back.
There he is. He appears.
Sorry. I got a phone call. I thought I put my phone on.
Oh, okay. I guess when you do that on your phone, that does happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was saying, yeah, you got to wonder.
Tony, everyone's calling you.
It was my dad, actually. So
popular, your dad wants to talk to you.
No, but anyway, I think hopefully Cousins, with this next regime, whether it's Kapler, the new hitting coach, whatever, could, have Cousins make that next step and have him cut down on his strikeouts a little bit, because he's not that far away from, I think, being a pretty decent power hitter. You look around the league, there's plenty of guys who hit 230 and get on base enough and hit enough for enough power that they're pretty darn good players. And I think he could potentially be that. He could be like a Joey Gallo type.
Yeah.
If all goes right.
I could see that. And we have a ton of outfield prospects. Don't be surprised if a couple of these young kids get traded too.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, we still have Roman Quinn. And you still have Randolph and Moniak down to lower levels who are, first round draft picks. So yeah, they do have a ton of outfields.
And what do you think about trade for pitching help?
Yeah, I would definitely. I was going to say that pitching would be the number one thing that we need for our staff, because we still have a couple young prospects down there, but they're only 20 years old. So it's not like they're going to be making the jump to the majors that quick. So you kind of have to have a stopgap, because we have Nola, who's shown if he can stay healthy, you could probably be a number one, number two starter for sure. But after that, who do you really have? Eichhoff has been way inconsistent. Jake Thompson. Tony's mentioned it before. It's four guys that are all the same player, though. They don't really differ in any way. They don't really blow you away with their power pitching. None of them really have any nasty sliders or curveballs. They're just kind of average at everything. So I definitely think you got to take some of those prospects and try to get either an established pitcher or a young and up-and-coming prospect from another team.
Yeah, I think that's very, very possible that they make a trade. I think they also might, in addition to a trade, might sign a top-of-the-rotation guy, whether it's, Arrieta or Cueto, Darvish. I would love for them to get Ohtani, the Japanese guy. I don't know how realistic that is, though. So there are a handful of, probably, I don't know if any of them are aces, but at least number two type guys out there that could help him. And then, like 2019 and beyond, you're looking at, Sixto Sanchez and those guys.
And we have a ton of money to throw around too. Yeah. So the free agents are going to be getting signed for sure.
That'll be another show, and we kind of preview like who we want to sign and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that. We'll do that. Oh man, wow, we're 30 minutes in, gentlemen.
Nice.
Who would have thought? Now the questions did help us out, so thank you, Sean, for your questions, and we also had a question from somebody else, so not just Sean. I know Sean's a big fan of the baseball stuff, and he jokes with me saying I'm Mr. Hockey, even though I'm clearly not. So there we go. So I guess we'll kind of end it here. We were going to talk about the World Series, but we talked so much about the Phillies. I guess we could kind of talk briefly before we head out.
Yeah, but this has been one of the most exciting World Series that I can remember.
Like was Game 5 the best game ever? Like was it realistically the best game ever? Or are we getting ahead of ourselves? Because that game, oh my God. Like wow. I thought the game was over 4 different times. It wasn't. It's stupid of me to think it would be. You tie it up twice with a pair of 3-run homers for the Dodgers to come back, and I'm like, oh.
It's crazy because it happened the same exact way 2 times. It was 2 walks, 2 outs, and a jack, dude. Like, just bombed it. I mean, the ball was flying there at Minute Maid. That was the most exciting game I've ever seen. It was a bit lengthy, but it was worth staying up till 1:45 in the morning to watch that because these teams are so evenly matched. I can't remember a World Series where a team has been so evenly matched, just like with the pitching staff.
Every game is orgasmic.
Yeah, it is. It's close. It's a nail biter. It's no one-sided at all. It's just so evenly matched. It's a great World Series.
I can't remember watching a better World Series.
No, I can't. Not even when the Phillies were in it.
2001, I thought was amazing. When the Yankees and the Diamondbacks, they kept going back and forth, had all this extra inning games. But this is another level.
Yeah. This is actually, like, I feel like kind of a key moment in baseball history just because, this is probably the most exciting World Series we've seen in at least a really, really, really long time. And with what's going on in the NFL, maybe even if you could get a handful of people to be like, you know what, I like baseball more now than football, it's a handful more than there used to be, especially, I mean, the Thursday night games are generally awful.
Yeah.
And a lot of stupid people are mad at the NFL for stupid reasons, but we won't go there. I don't know. Go baseball. I love baseball.
It has drawn. If you have games like that last game in Game 5, you're going to be drawing a ton of more viewers in for sure. Because a lot of people don't like baseball because it's slow. It's low scoring. There's not much action. Well, if they watch this World Series, it's the complete opposite because it's been nothing but excitement. Home run after home run. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It leaves you at the edge of your seat. It really does. And I'm not a fan of neither of these teams. Like, I'm not rooting for one or the other. It's just great for baseball, and it's just very, very exciting to watch.
And it's also 2 of the biggest markets in the country. LA's number 2, and I think Houston is 4 or 5.
I thought LA was number 1.
Well, no, New York's got to be number 1.
Are you sure?
Yeah, New York's probably number 1.
Well, anyway, but on top of that, 2 huge markets, and you look at Correa, Altuve, Seager, Bellinger. Those guys are all, I think, 23 and under, and like Altuve is like 27 or something. Mm-hmm. So you have all these young, absolute superstars, like Altuve and Correa. Like, those guys are Hall of Fame type talents. Like, I don't think people even yet still realize how fucking good they are. Yeah. And they're finally, like, able, on the world stage to really show it off. It's just really cool, I think.
Yeah, they were adorable.
Is the only guy in Major League Baseball that is smaller than Tony.
He still has me on a couple inches realistically, but we're relatively the same size.
What is he? He's what, 5'7" or something?
I think he's listed at 5'7".
I think he's like 5'5".
But yeah, I think he's more accurate like 5'5". I'm like 5'3" on a good day. But
yeah, so we all know now that Tony D is very small.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell. Although I could touch the ceiling in here.
But Altuve is a superstar for being that small, and to think he almost didn't make it into the league because of his size. How crazy.
Yeah.
Idiots.
He's kind of like Darren Sproles. Like, he's short, but he's strong as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, pound for pound, he's got to be one of the strongest guys in baseball.
He's got such a great swing. It's so overpowering. He can jack. What do you have, 28 home runs this year? I mean, I know he plays at Minute Maid, but still.
He's almost used his height to his advantage because he's able to, like, always get under the ball and elevate it.
Yeah.
And hit the ball in the air.
Did you ever notice his strike zone? The umps really don't know where the strike zone is when he's up to bat. It's like, it's comical.
Yeah, that's the thing. His zone is so small. If you go in there, he's going to hit it.
Yeah.
And he gets pissed when the pitch is high and you call a strike. He's been pissed off this entire series. So, I do think that Minute Maid Park is a joke. I'm not going to lie. Like, the fact that you can hit a pop fly there and it can go out is kind of a joke, but
yeah,
way too small.
Like somebody, like, who was it that like literally reached out and hit it out? Was that Puig?
Yeah, he hit it with one hand and
that's a joke.
Well, look at. I mean, I think it's more so the baseballs. Honestly, look at Todd Frazier's home run last series when he like literally threw his bat and
Yeah,
went
It
over
went
the
out.
right field wall.
yeah.
I mean, you've had so many players come out now and be like, yeah, this ball is not the same as it was. So that's another thing baseball is going to have to deal with.
The whole juicing thing, is that
Yeah,
what you're referring
baseball's
to?
kind of like, you know what? Don't take steroids, but we still want to help you hit the ball really far. So just you know.
Well, they were having
So
so much trouble scoring runs at one point a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe they literally
in 2014 there was like 8 guys who hit 40 home runs or more. Now there's like 20 some guys. I don't know. Check it. I was looking at that stat before. It's crazy.
But that helps viewership because people want to see home runs. It's an exciting part of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if MLB did do something like that.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't
even
start
when you
turning
ask
around,
Manfred about it, all he says is he doesn't deny that the ball was changed. All he says is the ball fits the specifications that it's supposed to. So it's just like they're almost admitting that the ball is a little juiced.
Well, the NFL wants to call penalties to help offenses. I mean, hell, I'm not gonna hate on baseball's decision to try to increase runs and scoring. I mean, if the NFL's doing it, why are we gonna hate on baseball for it?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, there's money to be made. Why not? You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Tony, do you have anything you want to say there?
No, and I mean it's not just baseball. It's guys that are bigger, stronger, and just better at hitting home runs. Not too. More guys are trying to hit home runs. Guys don't care about striking out. So that's another factor. But
Right.
I do think the balls are also a factor. But that's all I have.
Balls are fat. Maybe everyone's getting their UV rays.
The balls have just been out in the sun all day long. That's why they're going so far.
Babe Ruth just must have been naked through the whole 20s then. He jacked 700 home runs back that day, so he was probably just letting the big salami swing. I mean, Jesus.
Hitting jacks with his big salami.
Yeah, with his big salami.
There we go. Oh, we're 10 minutes away from the World Series, Game 6.
Yes, let's end it.
I love it. So we just killed 40 minutes doing the show, and now we got some time, a little bit of time for the World Series. I love it. So we're pretty much here.
How do you even match up to the last game? There's no way you can outdo that game.
Get.
It needs to be like a bench clearing brawl where fans get involved. That's the only thing.
Another demolition derby night, like in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
What was that? Actually, that was Disco Demolition Derby night. Is that what it was?
They've burned all the disco CDs or something. Yep. They did. All right, you guys got any final thoughts before we head out?
Yeah, final thoughts. Just a little old Phillies news. How about Ken Giles being stripped of his closer's job? AJ Hitch saying he is not closing for the rest of the series. How about it, man?
Oh, I wouldn't toss him out there again after what I've seen.
No, 11.1 ERA, whatever.
He didn't even pitch the other night.
Whew. Terrible. If you kind of think about it, that Game 5 could have been it for the Stros. They could have walked away with the World Series with that game if he would have done his job.
Yeah.
It looks like we cashed in on old little Kenny Giles there, so good move.
Did we lose Tony again?
Tony Pooh.
Oh. Tony, are you there? Damn it. All right, I guess we're not getting a final thought.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Hear it.
Did you get another call?
No, I don't even know what that one was. It just turned off on me.
You got a final thought?
Do I have a final thought? I don't know. Kapler makes me want to go to the gym. That's my final thought.
He makes I am literally. If it's nice and sunny out tomorrow, I'm lounging in the backyard, fully naked, balls just hanging.
You better put some suntan on those babies.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure they don't get red. Just nice. I'm gonna get a nice little tint, just a nice tint, and boost up this testosterone levels.
There you go. That's what they should do for ED. Like he just took that market completely out. Cialis, that market is done now. because all these old guys, they're gonna have issues
Yeah.
with
Now we're gonna
testosterone
see
levels. They're
you
just
see
out
old dudes walking around naked, be like, "No, it's okay. My doctor told me I can. Don't worry."
It's a money market. Kapler is a genius.
Gives me extra vitamin D for my balls.
You got a vitamin D deficiency? Just whip your balls out. That's all you got to do.
Thank you, Gabe Kapler, for the advice. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll end on that note. We'll end on that note. Tony actually, I always say Del Grosso, but it's Del Grasso, and I screw it up every time. I get it wrong. I know you don't care, but I'll try to remember next time. That's why I should just call you Tony D, but I don't do
that
it.
works too.
Yeah, that's what we all know you by. At fraternity, temple, Phi Kappa Theta, stand up, Tony D. So for Tony D and Kyle Gackner, I am Adrian Fedque. Once again, let your balls loose.
All right.